Hey, it's Kate, and you're watching and listening to the CMO Show with me. And today I'm joined by Ana Villegas. She is from Peru, and she's got a really cool story about how her childhood makes her a really agile marketer. Hey, it's Kate, and you're watching and listening to the CMO Show with Kate Gunning. And I've got a really interesting guest today. Her name is Ana Villegas. She's from Peru, and I just learned how to pronounce her name 5 minutes ago. So I hope I got it right. Ana Villegas. It's very beautiful to say. And I came on to set just now thinking, oh, this will be fun. It's someone I've never met before. I get to hang out with someone new. And I sat down and I realized I actually met her at a CMO event 2 years ago when I first got to Austin from New York. So how about that for community? That's what the CMO Show is all about, is community, bringing our people together, talking about what makes us really special. And usually that starts with things that aren't even on our resume. So hi, Ana. It's great to have you with me. And I'd like to start with a non-resume topic.
Hi, Kate. So excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. Before we went on air, we were talking a little bit about how you grew up. And I'm wondering if you can share some of that story with our listeners, because we like to talk about how some of those parts of us really inform who we are as CMOs more than our actual CMO experience. So share with us about how you grew up.
I will be happy to. So I grew up in Peru in the 70s in a very traditional society and family. So the expectation for me, I went to an all-girls school, and the expectation for me was to find a nice husband, get married, and know how to manage the house. So in school, they teach me to cook, they teach me to knit, they teach me, sew, all these things. They never teach me science. So I was, I think, the rebel saying, why my dad goes to work every day? Why do I have to be the one staying behind here? And that, basically propelled me to studying engineering and starting to challenge the system. So I think that I now have around driving transformation, driving change, it started there because I needed to challenge the system through my time in Peru. And then once I realized, okay, if I need to keep growing, I need to leave my country. Like I'm trying to change society. Society is not going to change overnight. Yeah. And that was the one that propelled me to take that jump and come to, the United States and to pursue an MBA. Not knowing anybody, not having any network, but it was like, I just want to keep growing.
Yes, that's beautiful. When did you come to the U.S.?
I came to the U.S. It's going to be 23 years ago. And I came to the U.S., which is for me an interesting, episode, like huge change was I came to the U.S. the same year of September 11th. So I arrived here June 17, and then September 11 happened.
Oh, wow.
And then all my expectations of getting jobs offers were gone because I didn't have a visa, right? And they were not giving visas anymore. So I had to really figure it out. And I spent 6 months without a job after I graduated from my Kellogg MBA because nobody could give me an offer until finally Dell found me and I found Dell, and they gave me an offer, and I was like, I'm taking it no matter what. I need to take this.
It was a perfect match.
Yes.
So then that's when you moved to Austin.
That's when I moved to Austin. I've never been to Austin. Mm-hmm. So I did the interview in Ashimba, which is a Hispanic conference. Okay. And then they did a second interview over the phone. And then they gave me the offer, and I didn't have money to come here to check it out. So I was like, sure, I'll start. And I want to start as soon as possible because I didn't have money. So I'm like, yeah, I'm starting next Monday.
They're like, wow, we love your eagerness.
Yes, come.
Very agile in lots of ways.
Yes.
And talk to me about agility. You mentioned that's a quality you think is really important. Talk to me about that.
I believe that to be a good marketer, to be a good leader, you have to be agile. Like the world changed so fast.
Yeah.
Marketing, I cannot even, like you can read a book and then, or you can go to school and then 1 month later there is obsolete because there is new technology happening, new ways of doing things. Everything is moving so fast. So you have to have the agility to adjust to what the marketing is doing, what your customers are doing, what your team needs. There is no more, I plan and I have this. Yeah, you still need a plan, but you need to have those forums where you are saying, okay, what do we need to change? What do we need to achieve? There is no more, this is my budget. It's more, okay, this is the full budget, and what will we move around to make it happen?
That's right. And again, I think it's really cool that that's something that you really leverage, that quality, agility, you really leverage in your seat as a CMO. And a lot of what you had to do in your upbringing, and even the story that you shared about coming to America, really created a situation where you had to be agile, right? So that's really cool. And how do you think about managing your teams, therefore? What's your planning process look like? How do you make sure that the sort of agile vibe is present when you're running marketing?
So first and foremost, for me, my team and my people they are number one, right? And one of the things from my background and growing up and having to go through all these challenges is that it really helped me open up more on the empathy, arena, and listening and seeing what people need. So I want to make sure my team is in the right place to be successful. And in agility, right, you have your lieutenants, you have the people who will go in a room and no matter what will make it happen. And you want to make sure you know who those people are so you can pull them into a daily, let's drive the change. But you also need people in your team who are good at keeping things running. And I think that as a leader, you have to make sure you're identifying what their superpower is, right? Are they more in that, let's make sure you continue to run the business, or are they more in, we're going to do everything and we're just going to change it?
Move fast and break things and hold the egg.
You need both. Right. You need a balance of both.
Yeah, that's really, I love that you're highlighting that. And I think that it's important that you are, because of the fact that mismatches in teams can be really tricky. And I think that it's easy for people to get praise when they're flying fast and trying new things. And then the people who are really holding things together are very important too, right? Like you need both.
Exactly. You need both.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And what about, so you're a really agile thinker, CMO leader, human. On the other side, what do you feel like you have as a gap that you say, I need to surround myself with people who fill that quality, because that's somewhere where you're less strong perhaps? So
I need to, so I'm an impact there's a 4-quadrant, I'm an impact. I make it happen. I move super fast. Yeah. So I have to surround also with leaders who are looking at all the details, making sure all the boxes have been checked.
Yes.
And nothing has been dropped. And I'm very conscious that when I am, bringing talent, I have a balance of both, because not everybody can be like me. That will not be good.
Yes. And so how about when you're collaborating with people like that? What's a tip, or how do you handle trying to relate to one another?
So that's, in a personal way, it's interesting because my husband is the opposite of me. So we have this yin yang that, but it's really helpful, because the more important thing is align with your team, with your people, with your leaders on the goals. Mm-hmm. Right? And then have clarity on what is going to be their role.
Yes.
And what are you expecting from them? And then let them do their thing. Don't micromanage. Don't, try to tell them this is the way to do things. That's why you brought them. You brought them because they know how to do it. Mm-hmm. You want to see the result. You want to get there to give them feedback. But you don't want to build the sausage with them, because that's when the things start, and the styles start becoming like conflict.
Yes. So goal alignment, empowerment, and then let them go.
Let them go.
Yes. Good. I love that. That's really, I think, helpful because we're especially in a Zoomish culture having to learn.
Yes.
Okay, how do I best collaborate with people who think differently than I do, who have different perhaps working style than I do? And I think that that's something a lot of people are challenged by, especially in the last couple of years.
And one of the things I've done, from my days at at National Instruments and then now here, it's as soon as I get a new role and I have a new team, we walk through an exercise of either the strength finder or the colors, just to understand who is what and what are the styles of working. So when you talk to person A,
Yes.
do you need to be more detailed, right? And they want to have more background. When you go to person B, you just have to tell them, this is what we need to get to, and just balance those things. I would like to add, as a leader, one of the things that I've been a big lesson for me is that, yes, you can, align people to efforts and roles, etc. But sometimes the role may not be the good fit for the person, and the person may be failing because you put them in the wrong role. So you have to really bring that radical candor and have those honest conversations. And as a leader, say, I may have making a mistake with this person.
Sure.
And this person is not being successful. Everybody's not happy, but it's because if this person will be doing something different, the situation will be different. So that's the other thing I think that is very important as a leader.
Yeah, I agree with you. Who do you admire as a marketing leader the most?
Well, I think that Carla Pineiro, who have been, my leader, I have been very honored to have worked with her. She has also been my mentor and a friend, and she is amazing because I see her manage, and she's around herself, around complements to her strengths.
Yes.
So that would be my top one.
Because it sounds like she's a very self-aware leader.
She is very self-aware, and she really cares for the people. And I remember when, I happened to be in her team when all this COVID started.
Yes.
And she was the first one in the company who, the first all hand, she's like, okay, this is like, how are you guys feeling? And she shared, I'm feeling awful, like, and everybody was like,
whoa, she said it.
She took the mask, right?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, wow. And then we all felt empowered to also taking the mask on our end.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a really scary time, wasn't it?
It was very scary.
It was wild. I remember putting my first mask on, thinking like, oh, this is so weird and it's hot in here. I do not like this. Take it off. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. So you have been at your new company, Affinipay,
Yes.
for 90 days.
90 days.
How does Ana Villegas? Did I get
Yes,
it right?
you got it right.
Ana Villegas is such a pretty name to say. How does Ana Villegas tackle her first 90 days?
Well, I tackled it before I started because I wanted to be very clear in the interviews, and as I was interviewing with Drew, my new leader, who is a female CEO, when I was interviewing with her to see what were the needs, what they were trying to have marketing accomplished. So for me, it was very clear there was a rebrand piece that needed to happen. They have acquired several companies and everything was independent. And then there was also an opportunity to transform and accelerate the demand gen piece, right, of the effort. So I came with those very clear guidelines, and then with a 30, 60, 90 of, okay, I'm going to find these key two leaders that I need. I'm going to kick off the rebrand effort, and this is where I want to get to, and this is what I'm going to deliver on the demand gen. So having that plan ahead and having that plan as I did my interviews was very helpful, because I think that put us in the same page.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And how much detail do you usually put in the 30, 60, 90? And the reason I'm asking you this question is specifically because you have talked about how agility is really important, and that's one of your biggest superpowers. And so help our listeners and me understand how an agile first CMO thinks about a structure like a 90-day plan, right? How much detail do you think is necessary to allow you that alignment that you talked about, but to maintain that ability to be agile?
I go big picture. I don't go into detail. Week 1, I'm delivering 2. Week 2, I'm delivering this. Week 3, I will present that as things move forward. But first of all, it's just, hey, I want to make sure that I have on the people front, what I'm doing with my people. I'm going to meet with my leaders. I'm going to do an assessment of the team, and you will have this by this date. On the run, I'll make sure I identify, right, the RFPs, doing the vendor, and identifying who from the team will be part of that. And then as I move forward, so my 30-60 when I started is very high level. Then as I move forward, maybe week 4, I have something more detail of, by the way, these are the low-hanging fruits.
Yes.
I think that's when you start with the low-hanging fruits. And it's interesting. We just had one that I have put something in the plan for one of the products that's launching in April, which was going to be, a big launch. So I was like, okay, we're going to work on that. But last week, we realized that this product is part of all the software offerings. So instead of doing a product launch, we really need to do a revamp of the software strategy.
Yeah.
So I'm pivoting that. And that's completely different to what I had in the plan earlier. So I think that it's okay to pivot and to just come and say, I'm seeing this.
Yes.
So I'm going to propose this. We just reviewed with the ELT 2 days ago, and everybody was, supportive.
That's good. Important. And then I would imagine, so when you do make a pivot like that, what's your guidance around how to recalibrate your team?
So I like to bring my people into the process. So we're going to have a workshop to figure out what that means for us, right?
So as a leader, you're saying this is what we're doing, but let's get together and talk about how.
Because something else will have to be deprioritized. Let's be clear. There's nothing like there is only
just keep adding.
Yeah, no. Less is more, and let's focus eventually in the things that, as a marketer, as a CMO, I want to make sure I'm adding value to the business, the community, and our customers. And in order to do that, where do I put? I have certain. I always say, I have 100 chips. Where do I put my chips?
Yes.
So I have the team working that together so we can arrive at a conclusion that they have really driven versus me telling them, oh, no, now you're doing this only.
Good.
Yeah.
Who do you think is a creative thinker about agility in business that you haven't worked with before? Is there anybody that you think is just like particularly inspiring when it comes to that specifically?
Well, I think definitely Mark Zuckerberg had to have the agility
Yeah,
to
that's
get
true.
the company where it was.
Still does.
It still does, right? And even if we don't all, there's so many things, but even Elon Musk, Elon Musk was not doing paid advertising, and look what Tesla got it. So I think that agility of trying new things, there's these several leaders that they try and doesn't work, and then they keep moving forward, but you see them always doing something different.
Yeah, that's right. And do you think that it takes a particular kind of CEO to be able to stomach working with someone who's fluid and agile as a marketer?
I think that it is, as a marketer and as a CMO, you also have to make sure you are delivering on the business, right? So your agility and what you are changing or your ends should not disrupt what they are seeing as a result.
That's right.
That's a sausage making.
That's really good, actually, because what you're saying is leave that part to me.
Yeah.
They don't need to see the behind the scenes way that we're getting to these goals.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. Okay, tell me your favorite book.
Wow.
Or it can be a few books. You seem like the kind of person that might like a variety of books.
I am. I'm constantly reading books. I think for me that the last one that I really liked was the book that we read with my team at NI, which was the Radical Candor, because even I realized that there is a lot of challenges, and people sometimes are afraid of speaking up. And if you cannot have a team that speaks up and really you use the power of what they are good at, you are in a way undermining their success. So that for me, it was very important because again, it was the team reading it. It was coming together. It was people saying, "Oh wow, I can do things different."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think giving people the ability to think of things differently is a beautiful way to lead, right? So opening them up to that is, that's really important. What are you learning at your new company that's maybe giving you a fresh perspective about how you approach marketing? Anything yet?
I'm learning a lot because it's a completely different market for me.
Yeah.
The legal market and then accounting. It's interesting because I come from a technology background. I'm in fintech now, but the legal industry have a big percentage of lawyers that still don't use digital. They don't transact online. They do the checks. They do the old school. So it makes me think of Bell back on the days when we were starting to sell the solutions. We acquire EMC for the small businesses, right? And we didn't know, and they didn't know what using all of this was good for them. So that for me is something that inspires me because I feel like we are creating a new category, a new way for them to interact with their customers that's going to change their life and change their customers' lives, right? Because imagine a lawyer that loses 30% of what they get paid because the check, bounces back or they never get the check. And now they have access to all the money. Imagine clients that can get credit to pay the lawyer. And that's another big one that normally if you don't have the money, the lawyer will not talk to you, right? So I think there is that I'm learning. I'm learning that this is a space where there's so many opportunities and that propels me really. And it's like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm here. This is exactly where I need to be and just give me more energy.
Yeah, that's great. It's interesting what you're saying because I haven't thought about that as a consumer, but I'm sitting here thinking while you're speaking, I have forgotten to pay lawyers, like my son's, the paperwork for your will and testament, right? Every year there's an annual fee. Every year I must get 5 emails from the attorney's office like, your check is due, your check is due, your check is due. No. And I intend to send the check. I forget because it's not, a transaction.
Well, our
like,
solution,
can you Venmo me?
Our well, you need certain regulations. That's why they can Venmo. But our solution basically sends you a link and you can just pay by credit card.
That's great.
Or by e-check, which is your bank sending the check. But tell them to look for Affinipay.
Affinipay.
Yeah.
I will. Like, if you want me to pay you on time,
exactly.
Please use Affinipay. I'm gonna remember that for next year. Actually, reminding me, I need to add that to my to-do list. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay, so you're 90 days in, and I'm wondering, you're building a team. How do you think about in-house support, agency support? What's that look like for you?
So for me, what I've learned through my last 27 years of experience is I'm going through an economy that recession or growth, COVID, or all these things, you have as a leader to plan the fact that the budget is not always going to stay the same. And you may have to cut, or there may be time where you just get this additional budget, right? So I do a balance. So I have, my team, but I also like to work with agencies to complement. So I don't have to be, every time things are a little lighter, having to let people go. It's better to, and then the other piece I've learned is because everything is moving so fast, agencies, they work with different clients. So they can really bring sometimes best practices and especially on the digital front that your team, they've been sitting in your team for a while, right? They may go to a conference, they may write a book, but it's not the same as working in another customer, building their full campaign. So that's your reason why I use agencies. I think they are closer to the what's happening in the world. And that's why I'm always looking for agencies that are trying to, do the next thing.
Yes. And so do you tend to find support for ideation then? Creative ideation. What are the things that you're most likely to outsource to an agency?
So one of the areas, if the technology is not there, right, having agency help with that targeting, retargeting, ABM.
So the infrastructure
The infrastructure part, yes. Yeah. I think that the creativity, that piece, that one you have to work together, because the agency will never be an expert in your customers, right? So they can tell you the how. Hey, there is this new way of doing programmatic marketing, or this new way of doing native content syndication, and you can learn what are the tools out there that can be different. But then at the end of the day, you know more about the customer than them. So I think that's where it's together. We did a rebrand at, and it was really cool how we brought, for the creative part, we brought the creative team and the agency together to brainstorm together. So it was not the agency saying, this is what you need to do. And it was not the internal team saying, oh, we have come with this. It was everybody collaborating together.
That's powerful. Yeah, I love that.
It's very powerful.
I started an agency, so I'm always really interested in that question and finding the right sweet spot. And I do think too that, like you say, depending on your budget, there's certain things that you really need to do inside. So having people on the team that are thinking creatively that you can then have work with an external team is really important too. And we're all creative.
We are all creative.
Yeah, we're all creative.
When I come, it's funny because when I come into the leadership team, if I have something to present about marketing, everybody has an opinion.
Everyone. Someone was on recently, and they highlighted that the chief marketing officer is the only role in the C-suite with an ing. And I thought, wow, that is so right. Like, it's true. We're the ones that are meant to be executing all the time, and everyone's got an opinion.
Yes.
About how to do it. So it's fun to get people's ideas, and also stick to our guns too.
Well, I think that the CMOs are definitely in the hot seat, right? You are accountable for numbers, but also there is such a softness in that creative part. You have to manage all those expectations.
Yeah, and leaving room for both to breathe and have space is really important too, I think. How do you allocate your budgets? Like, especially, so let me ask the question more specifically, because I'm actually just selfishly curious. So this is for me. When you're working in an industry like the one that you're in now, where you're targeting a very specific audience, and you mentioned that you're acquiring companies, so I'm assuming there's some element of brand building that needs to be done. How are you thinking about the space within the budget that's going to bring ROI right back? And then how are you thinking about the space within the budget that's going to teach people to be thinking of your brand?
So I look at the budget holistically, and we just did this exercise in December. So it's not around just looking at the budget that is pay media, pay advertising, etc. But I look at also resources. Because, for example, thought leadership, if you have people who are very good at that, they are creating pieces that will help eventually drive awareness, so your demand is more efficient. But it has to be part of the plan. If you are just planning this piece, then this part of the resources may not be focusing the right thing. Yeah. So that's number one. Just look at it together, and then start saying, okay, for the resources, where do we want them to spend the time? The second one is look at it from a customer angle. So when I came to Affinipay, and that the same happened at NI, the way they were managing the budget was there was a social media budget, an advertising budget, an events budget, right, and so on, functional. And I'm now saying, no, we're doing a budget for, I don't know, the legal industry, for the size 2 to 5 lawyers in a firm, right? And this is what we're going, based on what we're trying to get from a lead perspective, this is how much we're going to allocate. This is how much what's going into just the demand generation, like the more hardcore leads. And then this is how much is going into awareness and everything else. Yeah. And because it's new, we don't know this part of investment, how much is going to make this be more efficient. So instead of being, I put 10 and I get 10, my hypothesis, I'm going to put 10 here, but I'm going to take at least 12. So, but we are now planning this a different way.
Yeah. Okay. That's really helpful.
And then the other thing is no ownership. Like if we have this budget for, let's say, the firms 2 to 5, we need to look at it weekly and say, okay, what's working or not? If search is not working and maybe customers are not searching, but there is an event happening, well, let's shift some of that to event. So you start doing the fluidity. Mm-hmm. So it's not only staying in one place.
It's not fixed.
It's not fixed.
How often do you evaluate that?
Oh, I'm building. We were not evaluating that. So I'm building that right now. We just started the weekly meetings. We are just at the start of looking at the numbers and asking the questions. So then we can build processes and how we optimize.
But weekly, you're getting together and talking about the topic.
Yes.
That's great.
I would like it to be daily at some point, but that's another story.
Yeah. And do you think... Yeah, talk to me about that. Do you say that because it's a very transactional business?
It's very transactional business.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So how often you review those things should be informed by how transactional or not your business is?
It depends, because I've done B2B at Dell and we were also looking at the numbers on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. Because for B2B, you start looking at what are the combination of early indicators, and you can see, if, okay, so how many people, I don't know, click or engage or spend on the site. Is that going up or down? That's telling you already something.
Yes. Good.
So,
yeah. Okay.
It can be done.
It can be done.
Yes.
Says Ana, who's done all the things in spite of 9/11 and everything else. It's amazing. Your story is really powerful. Who do you think we should have on the show?
Well, I think you should invite my friend Joe Rivas, because he is amazing. He's leading brand for IBM. And before that, he was in the agency as a CEO, and he helped us, he partnered with us in all that strategy, and he's just amazing. So that would be my advice.
Okay, great. Hi, Joe. We'll get Joe on the show. You can give us an intro. That'd be great. Thank you for joining me.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's